Recording live from Glory Hole Studios in Chicago and beyond. This is Cognitive Dissonance. Every episode we blast anyone who gets in our way. We bring critical thinking, skepticism, and irreverence to any topic that makes the news, makes it big, or makes us mad. It's skeptical, it's political, and there is no welcome mat. This is episode 622 of Cognitive Dissonance. And Cecil,
yeah,
I don't know what your thoughts. I don't want to get too far down this road, but you know, I've been obviously like everybody else, been following the events in Ukraine.
Sure.
And it is going so badly for Russia. Like it's going like Ukraine is taking back cities that they lost. They took back a city yesterday.
Sinking battleships.
Sinking their fucking battleship. They're like fucking
they picked C2, baby. And right down.
C4 makes it explode.
Putin just takes the fucking thing, closes it. He slams it, throws it. So mad.
That's the thing that makes me this is one of those scenarios that I just keep thinking of, and I'm like, man, there's no outcome. I can't imagine where he's just going to be like, well, you beat me. Fairsies and squaresies.
I think I don't know. I actually think like it's difficult because the more you beat him, the deeper that hole gets.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how this concludes. There's a couple of options, of course. There's always a couple of options. It could, there could be a moment where it's not him who decides.
Right.
Where somebody finally steps in, or, he finally in some way gets
he could force the moment to its crisis to
in some point, right? So there's a possibility there could be somebody else who speaks. The same way strikes work could be the same way that this could stop. Right.
The soldiers could
just say, this is stupid. What are we doing?
Right.
So it's this in the same way, although it's very different. It's very different with soldiers than it is with
because the other soldier who's not on strike can shoot you.
Yeah, well, but they are saying, the Ukrainian soldiers are saying, and I saw this today, they're saying, go home and you won't die. Just go home.
And that is an excellent message.
That is
if
really
somebody's
a great
like,
message.
Cecil, if I were in your home and you were like, not today, buddy.
You got to go
home.
Got to go home or you're going to die.
I'd be like, home
is
where the heart is.
Home is where I'm living.
Right. I don't know, man. And I don't want to pretend I'm a fucking expert on Eastern European geopolitical affairs. I'm just not. But I read about it and I'm looking at it with bated breath, and I would be remiss not to say, man, I know that story that Putin tells about when he was a kid. I think I mentioned this before on the show, but he tells a story about when he was a kid. He was very poor, and he and the other kids would chase rats around in this apartment building where they lived. And he tells a story that he chased this. They saw this really big rat, and he chased this rat, and the rat got cornered. And as soon as the rat was cornered, the cornered rat turned and it attacked him. It launched itself after him, and then he ran away from the rat. And he says, "I learned a lot from that rat." And I think, God, I just
did you though? Did you though?
And the best thing for the rat to do would actually to not be caught in the first place, not to just. But still,
it's one of those situations. This last week on our live stream, we raised money for Ukraine.
Yes.
Not technically Ukraine. We raised it for Doctors Without Borders, but they are
doing a lot of good work
serving in Ukraine. And it was one of the few pacifist organizations that we found that we know and we've used before.
Right.
We did it this last week. We said anybody who did a super chat for our show while we were on YouTube, we would take and match whatever funds. Turned out to be about $650 that we raised in about 40 minutes or so. And we took that money and we matched it. And we also, because YouTube was taking 35% of that money. But we're like, whatever, we're just going to eat that.
On us,
And so we sent them $1,300 this week. And what's great is we were matched by a listener of the show, Fred, who wound up doing the same thing. So he sent them money as well this week. So we raised over $2,000 for Doctors Without Borders in about 40 minutes.
Which is tremendous. That's
awesome. So we want to encourage everybody who wants to help in some way that they can to reach out to Doctors Without Borders. Their website's super easy to find. Type it in a search bar. There's a donate one-time feature. That's what we did. And you could just donate. They want anything you got.
Right.
So $1, $2, $5, $20, $100, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
So I urge anybody who wants to help in some way to do that.
And that's a charity that has been well vetted. That's a charity that you can feel like. Not all charities can you necessarily feel good about.
No,
and you do have to do a fair bit of work. But Doctors Without Borders, I feel comfortable recommending.
Me too.
We've vetted them for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
So a lot of the stories this week are going to come from the confirmation hearing.
Yeah.
So potential Supreme Court Justice Jackson is in the middle of withering, just in the fucking, just withering, stupid, bland crossfire bullshit by functional idiots is essentially what she's enduring.
It pretty much
right
is.
now.
And you know what you're seeing right now, Tom, is you're seeing a Republican Party that wants to ask her questions so that they could be the next soundbite.
Yes,
that's
100%.
That's all it is. They don't care about any of this stuff, and they certainly don't care about her answers, because her answers, in fact, should excite the people that are that are listening and that are on the right, because she is an originalist, and she said as much in one of the things that she said, and she's also somebody who keeps saying, I will wait until I hear the facts of the case and listen to the arguments, and then I will make the decision. That should be something that should excite them, because what they don't want is somebody who comes in with ideas and plans on their own. She's saying she's going to treat everything as a blank slate. And, if you're being honest,
right, then that's the answer you want.
Then that's the answer you want, right? But they're not being honest. What they want to do is they want to try to push her into a corner, and they want to get her to say something so that they don't have to vote for the first black woman Supreme Court justice. That's the only reason they're doing this. They're doing it for that, and they're also doing it so they can have campaign slogans later on, like, I was super tough on Ketanji.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you see when I was mad at that woman?
Yeah.
I was real good. I stormed off. I'm Senator Lindsey Graham. I was so repulsed by the non-answers I didn't let her give when I stood in front of her and essentially grandstanded for the entirety of my time.
That's all I did.
Aren't you proud of me?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
And the questions are so disingenuous. And this one is equally shitty.
Yeah. So this story comes from Mother Jones. Republican senator lashes out at marriage equality in Supreme Court hearing. This is John Cornyn. Cornyn's objections are, first, that granting equal rights to LGBTQ people conflicts with the religious beliefs of some people, to which Jackson responded, well, Senator, that is the nature of a right. That when there is a right, it means that there are limitations on regulation, even if people are regulating pursuant to their sincerely held religious beliefs.
Did she drop the mic right after that? Because that's
she
a great fucking line.
She fucking should have. Yeah, I love that her answer was like, that's how that works. So of fucking course.
Yeah.
The religious right is just coming out at this point and saying, look, I want to discriminate because I have a bad set of ideas.
Yeah.
And this terrible set of nonsensical Bronze Age bullshit ideas that, by the way, in the New Testament barely even touch upon the subject.
Right.
And don't treat it as something terribly, but still, I feel squicky about the fact that I want to fuck a dude. Wait, I didn't say that part. Now, hold on. I mean, like, when I'm fucking dudes, hang on.
What I mean to say
hang
is...
on.
Yeah.
When my dick is being sucked by another man. God
Jesus
damn it.
Christ.
3 times. You think I'd get it? Fucking hell, man. Yeah. Fucking hell.
I denied my straightness 3 times. No, the thing is what these guys want. And this is perfectly evident from this, because he keeps on pushing at, well, what we really want is we want to make sure that the people that are gay that get married, we don't like that. We don't like that particular right. And he keeps on trying to bring up the Constitution, but the Constitution doesn't mention it either.
It's fucking silent on the issue.
It doesn't mention it. It just says
it doesn't mention marriage, man.
Right. And the Supreme Court had to make a decision. We're gonna talk later on about another decision that they made about interracial marriage in the 50s.
Right. Yep.
As time goes on, we recognize we're shitty, awful people.
Yep.
And we change. And we look at ourselves hard and we say, fuck, are we stupid or what? What were we thinking?
Yep.
And 2015, when we changed this rule and we said, yeah, of course fucking two adults can get married. What the fuck were we thinking up until
what if they're
now?
a different color? Like, oh, well, fuck, that's a stupid way to think.
And now we're like, oh, well, what if they're the same sex? Well, who fucking cares?
Right? Don't look, if that's not your jam, don't marry that person.
Exactly. I don't understand why libertarians don't bite onto this. I can't understand how you're a libertarian, you hear somebody say some garbage like this, and you think, I want to vote red next time.
It is. The thing is that this is some self-evident shit, right? Because as long as the government is in the marriage business, meaning that as long as government sanctions a marriage and provides a different set of rights, responsibilities, etc., to married people, and it does, like, you know, in many states, I don't know if there's like a lot of federal rights, there's federal tax differences.
Sure.
But, you know, in many states, if you're married and your spouse is in the hospital, you can make decisions. You don't have to have specific power of attorney.
It's important.
You have, you've got heirship in the event that somebody passes. Their material possessions pass to you.
They give you their little Zeppelin. You get an airship.
You get an airship.
You get a little airship.
There's so the government is necessarily involved in the creation of and the granting of rights attached to it. So necessarily, this isn't like a matter of hey, you know, the government, why should these people be stripped of these rights?
Right.
Why should they? That's the question that's involved. It's not a question of whether or not I have to recognize that I like your union. There are plenty of married people that I'm like, you shouldn't be married. You're not compatible, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, that's not going to work.
Or that person's horrible. You shouldn't be married to him, right?
Right.
I've had friends in my life.
That's what I mean.
Who have been like, oh my God, you shouldn't be married to that person.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not the point when it comes to government. Government isn't saying this is a good union. Yeah. You made a fine choice, and I think you'll be happy.
We should have to do, if they're going to do this, it should be like, you know how we have to do like USDA stamps on meat? They should do the same thing for marriages, where you have to hire an outside source to come in and grade you and then put a stamp on you of approval on both parties.
Can we use the same system so it's like prime?
Yes,
select
absolutely,
choice.
Absolutely.
You like walk out like, well, I got a choice marriage. Fuck.
Oh, I'm industrial.
Pet food not suitable for human
barely
consumption.
Food grade. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Cecil, I listened to this audio, and it was late when I found this late. And I was like, I'm going to text Cecil anyway. Mm-hmm. I almost did it. I was like, I want to text him. And I was like, no, it's the middle of the night. Don't text him. And I was like, somebody needs to hear this.
Well, why don't we play it? Like, it's down here at the bottom. I will play it. Hammond, why don't you read the headline first and then I'll play it?
I will. And you guys, just listen. I'm only going to say this. Greatest punchline. Just the end of this is a great punchline. California MAGA candidate says she's running because Jesus spoke to her son in a closet.
Okay. All right.
Beautiful.
So Hemant posted this. The Friendly Atheist posted this. We're going to listen to this. This is on his Twitter feed.
I'm going to be quiet the whole time.
We're just going to listen to the whole thing.
It's that good.
What was the reason behind deciding to run for this office? I mean, you've got a lot of things.
First of all, I'm a prophetic dreamer, so I had spent a lot of 2019 and 20 having a lot of political dreams that I was in office. And because our youngest son Ezekiel is a seer, I went and got him. And I said, hey, can you look around and see what you're seeing? Because I get a kick out of hearing him describe, what he sees. And so I said, let me know if you see anything. And so he looked in my bedroom and my bathroom, and he said, there's nothing there. And then he goes into the closet, which is where I had been when I was praying. And he said, whoa, and his eyes got like big as saucers, and he kind of like started backing away, and they started bending down. And he said, you've got a really big guy in your closet, and his power is pushing me to the ground. And we had never had that reaction ever to an angel. And so I'm like, he's for us, not against us, right? Because I was sure, it's a different response.
Bigger than a baby's arm in there. What's going on?
He's so full of light, I can't even see his face. And then he said, and he has a scroll in his hand. And so I was he came with a message. Like, what is the message? And the message was a commissioning. So at the very end, I asked him what his name was, because I thought, what angel is this, And he said, Emmanuel. That wasn't an angel. That wasn't an angel. That was Jesus himself. And so that's why I'm running for Secretary of State. So it's kind of a
That's why I'm running for Secretary of State.
I honestly get mocked for, but by the other side of this door.
As well you should. As well you should.
Jesus
Holy Christ.
shows up and is like, hang on. I got to talk to the bitch who's going to run the DMV in fucking Ohio or whatever.
It's in California. Can you believe? Okay. How weird is
Secretary of State?
How weird is it that you go grab your son or whatever and wander him around your room and be like, I want you to go in the closet I was just in praying? What is happening in your house?
Hang on a minute. I've been having a lot of political dreams. Let me get my son. He's having a seizure fucking fever dream of his own. He's having walking fits right now. Let me see what bullshit he's imagining. He's oh, you're seeing a being full of light? Well, I guess I'll be dog catcher. What the fuck? What? Well, I contacted my cousin, and my cousin sometimes, he read a book about angels. Anyway, long story short, that's why I'm governor.
No, and that's where you're wrong. None of these people, every single one of these people, Tom, that say they're chosen by God. Think about all the people we've seen throughout the history of this show that have said, I've been chosen by God. I've been chosen by God. I've been chosen by God. Like even Michelle Obama at one point was like chosen by God and then lost or quit or whatever.
Lose.
And that one woman, we're going to watch her a little later, maybe on the stream, I'm not sure. But that one lady who's like, yeah, I was chosen by God and then I fucking lost. And this lady, she's not going to win. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, she's like a fucking R-tier candidate, man.
If she's on a show with this guy on the right, we've had this guy on the live stream before. So if you guys have watched our live stream before, and I'm going to try to explain it to the people who are listening, there's a fella who we've had on our live stream multiple times. This guy has his own little, I don't even know, like groupie who sits next to him and tries to press her face into his. Like she tries to merge their two faces together. And she just tries to, she can't stop staring at him. And he says nothing. He's never said a thing, not a single time. And he's like a D-list. He's a D-list guy.
Yeah,
this isn't even like Lance Wallenew.
No, these are bottom of the barrel garbage feeders, and they're interviewing this lady who's telling a story about how her fucking
no way
she had. I want to be the Secretary of State, so I had dreams about it.
Everything I own that she won't win.
Yeah, 100%.
I would bet everything I own that she won't win.
I would borrow shit. I would borrow shit from a bookie that will break my legs.
That will cut every piece of me off and mail it back to me. Yeah.
This lady isn't winning anything.
There's nothing she could possibly
in
win.
California.
And especially with that story. Are you going to tell that story on like fucking the Today Show?
I hope she tells this. Because the thing is, like, I want people to tell this story. This story is delightfully wacky. I want you to be like, well, that MAGA candidate's like, have you heard her?
Yeah, have you
heard that fucking
what she had to
person?
say?
Because she thinks she saw fucking angels in the outfield or whatever, and now that's why she's changing her oil or however the fuck she gets the next job she's got.
It's a field of dreams or whatever. No, but you know what's crazy too, though? If she were to go on like one of these big shows, she goes on like something like, let's say she goes on like Oprah or something.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think believers would coddle this belief and like have a conversation about it with them?
Believers love this shit. So yes, I think but you have to be a certain kind of believer. And we kind of touched on this when we talked to Seth. I think you're just like everyday cultural believer would be like, no, that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Or at the even if they're not like, that's a bridge too far. I think that's sort of like,
there's some people who are just too far into it.
Yeah, right.
Where you're just like, no, you're too into this.
Yeah, the magic doesn't. It's not real. It's metaphor magic. It's not like actually happened.
It's magic, but it doesn't touch you, or it's magic, but I fucking don't believe you.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So
the other thing too is that it's weirdly specific to politics.
Yeah.
That people will tell stories like this. Imagine applying for any other job. So Cecil, let's play it out. Imagine applying.
Okay, you're the HR guy.
Okay, I'll be the interview guy.
Okay.
What's the job? Let's get.
We got to think of a good job.
We'll do this improv style. Like, what's a good job?
Okay, we need a job from the audience.
What job? Audience, we need a job.
Audience says hairdresser.
Hairdresser.
All right.
Okay. Hey, welcome to Tom's Salon. You've got awesome locks. Real excited to talk to you. Resume looked great. You know, why'd you get into hairdressing?
So a long time ago, and this is actually why my hair is long and why I wear a beard, is I had a conversation with Jesus.
You did?
And he said to me,
actual Jesus?
I want you to look like me.
Yeah.
And I want you to travel the world and make sure that you cut everybody's hair to look like mine.
Okay. Very nice to meet you. Thanks so much for coming out. We are definitely going to let you know.
Yeah, no, we're gay.
We're going to let you know.
I love your hair. Looks good.
It's sharp. You know, if you want some products on the way, I'll give you 15% discount. Just, get out is the operative. Get the fuck, get no
There's
other
no
job
way.
would you tell a story like this.
I can't think of a single job that you could tell. And I've worked in religious institutions before. And even in religious institutions, if you came in talking about providence in some way, people would be a little cautious of you. They would think, unless it was like in broad strokes providence and not direct providence like these people are talking about, it would be and that's religious institutions, man. That's like a priest interviewing you.
Yeah, because I think the truth is that people believe in these things in this sort of broad conceptual way that people believe this, but they don't believe it in the sense that it happened to the guy next to you.
Right.
Nobody believes that miracles are happening to the guy just down the street on fucking Maple Avenue. We think these are things that happen broadly if you're a believer, you think it happened broadly in the world somewhere.
Right.
But they don't happen the guy at the grocery store because you don't actually think it's real.
It's like COVID.
Right. Yes. Again, not real. Plandemic.
There's a pandemic.
Right, 1 million
Don't
people.
you know it's a pandemic?
Tell that to 1 million Americans.
You can't anymore, Tom.
They're
You can't.
They're silent on that issue. This is just great. This is from Axios. And actually, I'm going to give him the credit that he's due by reading his quote. North Carolina's anti-abortion lieutenant governor once paid for an abortion, according to old Facebook posts. In a comment in 2012, he said, "It's wrong when others do it, and it was wrong when I paid to have my own child aborted in 1989. And there was a part of me when I first read this, I almost said, oh, it's not a story, because he's saying, hey, I did it, but it was still wrong. She's still condemning his past action, right? But here's why it's not, right? Because he already got his get out of jail free.
He already did it.
Right?
Because he already did it. Because he already experienced the freedom that other people should have the opportunity to experience so that they don't, because he did it for a reason. What was your reason? You know, maybe you were in school. Maybe you were in hard times. Maybe it was a mistress. Maybe it was something. Whatever. Right. I'm not making any judgments. I don't care.
Right.
But there was a reason that you did it. There was a reason that you pulled the money out of your pocket. There was a reason you had that conversation, and there was a reason she went in there and got that abortion.
Yep.
Whatever it is, you use that reason.
Yeah.
Why is that reason? And you're saying it's wrong now. It certainly may feel wrong now to you. That's okay. You still used it when you needed it.
Yeah, it's real easy to go back on that when you don't have to face the consequences of going back on it.
Yeah, sure.
You already reaped the fucking reward of the action that you're now saying, I don't get to have.
You can't turn the vacuum cleaner on and shoot the kid.
You know what? Can I have a mulligan? In fact, you know what? Fucking name a mulligan.
Yes, yeah.
Just name a mulligan.
Mulligan.
Oh, man.
Tom, if you have a third kid, it's got to be called Mulligan. Got to be called Mulligan.
Yeah. I'd call my whole life a mulligan. If I have a third kid, it's because they closed every abortion clinic in the world. In the world. On Earth.
You're getting on a jet and you're flying literally anywhere.
There's no place I wouldn't go.
Literally anywhere.
There's no place. If it was like you can only get an abortion in a fucking undersea layer at the bottom, I'd be like, great. And get me the fucking deep dive submarine. I don't care.
You know, it's also all dudes, right?
Yeah.
It's almost always all dudes that are like, I don't want y'all having any rights. You know, I know there are women out there, and and I think that there are plenty of Republican women out there that fight against this sort of thing. But I think your point is very valid. This guy already used his card. He's already done it. He's already passed that point in his life where that might be a problem for him. And so now he wants to close the fucking door behind him.
Yeah, man. I was talking, there's this guy that I work with that is Republican. He's pretty heavily Republican, and he and I will occasionally have these like protracted conversations. I'd call them debates, but he doesn't warrant it. Like we'll have these protracted conversations. And I remember asking him one time, like about the abortion thing, or it came up, I don't remember. And he said, when and he referred to his wife, when we were younger, we were both pretty pro-choice. But now that we've gotten older, we're pro-life. And I was like, that's because it's not going to happen for you anymore.
That's because you're out of the fucking woods.
I said it. I was like,
you're out of the woods, man.
When it was a danger for you, you were pro. How do I fucking get out of that danger?
Sure.
And now that it's not a danger for you, all of a sudden he's like, oh, you might have a point. I was like, I haven't. What do you mean might?
That's why every boomer is complaining about kids that don't want to work because they have a fucking career behind them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
they don't have to fucking go work for $9 an hour at McDonald's and have a boomer yell at them. If they did, they would have a completely different perspective on work. They would have 100%. But the problem is that they've lost that opportunity for empathy. And he's done the same thing.
Yep. Oh, this is so fucking goddamn ridiculous. The story's from Vanity Fair. You can also find it literally anywhere. It's all over the place. GOP Senator Mike Braun claims he didn't mean to say states should be able to ban interracial marriage, despite saying it multiple times. So, again, there is this bullshit, disingenuous attempt to essentially roll back the federal government and say, well, everything should be states' rights. Everything should just be states' rights. And that's obviously nonsense. And nobody actually believes that. Like, if you press almost anyone on what that would mean, it's like, I mean, you do know, like, the Civil War was essentially a states' rights issue, but it was a states' rights to have slavery.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, also, like, are we saying, like, certain places across our nation shouldn't have women that vote? I know there's an amendment now, but still, like, are we saying, because how much are we rolling back? How much is states' rights?
Yeah. At what point? So it's a fucking garbage argument, and it's always been disingenuous, and it's always just been a way for regressives, not conservatives, but fucking regressives to try to take back the rights that people have fought for. So, but this dumb motherfucker was talking about this, and he gets pushed on it. And he fucking doubles down until he gets sort of back to the home office. And somebody's like, do you know what you said?
Yeah. And then he's like,
do you fucking know what you said?
And then he had to crawl back and say, well, I love black people.
I have a black friendly
I have a black caddy.
Yeah.
I use when I go golfing.
I tipped a black valet once.
Like him quite a bit. As long as he doesn't talk to me too much. Use those urban words. We're okay. No, but like what they want too, like either they're lying, or if they're being genuine, what they really want is like Gileads all over the globe, right? All over the United States. They want little Gileads. They want a place where abortion is illegal, where they have to like approve your husband. Because if you're saying interracial marriage or rolling back all these things that the Supreme Court has decided on, now you're saying there's so many different pieces of that you're saying now belong to the states. And how far back can you roll back the clock? You can go back to the 20s.
Yeah, man. What about segregation?
Yeah,
because I mean, like Plessy versus Ferguson, and then Brown versus Board overturned that. So like, what about fucking segregation, man?
You absolutely
get the fuck out of here with that. And
it'd be even worse than a Gilead.
Right.
It'd be even worse. Like in a Gilead, you're like, what I'm talking about is the Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
And that's where I'm using that word. But like in that particular story, that's about very religious reproductive rights and controlling of a very rigid patriarchy, like the most rigid patriarchy you could possibly imagine. And so that's what that story's about. But you're right. It could be even worse than that, because it could be that plus racial discrimination.
Plus all of it. Yeah. Plus all of it.
Yeah.
And this guy, just to be very clear, the reporters asked him several clarifying questions, like to make sure that he didn't misunderstand.
When they're asking you the follow-up to be like, are you fucking sure, man?
Right.
And he's like, yep, 100% sure. Yep. And then he leaves.
They did everything but be like, are you sure you don't have your fingers crossed behind your back?
They're looking around. They're like, is there a camera in the corner of the room?
Right.
Was he fucking with us the whole time? Is this one of those TikToks where they're going to be like, got you? No. And then he has to go back. And then they're like, hey, dumb fuck. You're so stupid. You don't even know what you said.
Yeah. Right. He tries to be like, I misunderstood the question. It's like, it's impossible. If you
misunderstood the question, you should resign for your office. You should 100% resign.
What question do you understand? Because the question was asked, and then it was clarified multiple times.
Yep.
You didn't misunderstand. It's what you sincerely meant.
Yep.
What you sincerely meant. But you just know that actually turned out to be one fucking word too far.
Yep.
One sentence too long.
And what it was he cares so much about states' rights that he doesn't care about people.
Yeah.
Well, he thinks states have more rights than people.
Yeah. The thing is that, like, I do think it's bullshit that these guys actually think about what they want is they want a world, and they know that states' rights is the banner that they have to carry in order to get it.
Yeah.
This story comes from The Independent. Marjorie Taylor Greene backs Madison Cuckthorn and calls Zelensky a thug, despite outrage from within her own party. So here's what they said. She said she agrees that Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is a thug and that his government is corrupt. And I thought, and Cuckthorn said the same shit.
Sure.
Like Madison Cuckthorn, who is got to have one of the most punchable, smug motherfucking faces I've ever seen. But I read that, and there's more to the story, but I read that and I thought, okay, but who cares? Even if I granted you, even if I gave you that he had a corrupt government, and even if I gave you that he was a thug, whatever that even means, it doesn't make a lick of difference. It doesn't change any of the moral, political, or legal calculus around invading Ukraine.
Not for anybody who thinks.
Right. It's a horrible thing to do.
All it's saying is it's giving the people a reason to side with Putin that follow them.
Yeah.
So that's what it's doing. It's giving them a reason. It's giving them a point that they can say, well, maybe it might be justified. Because you could do the same thing when we invaded whatever. You know what I mean? You could say, And so I think that's what it's doing. But I also think, too, it says in this article that the Republicans are kind of up in arms about this. Because the Republicans, especially the Republican leadership, are saying, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's one of those moments where your kid's being shitty and you're getting real mad, but you're in public and you're just like, I want to just grab him and I want to walk him out the door and I can't because he's in public and he's throwing things on the aisle in the middle of the aisle, whatever. You know what I mean? Like he's having a tantrum or whatever it is.
Maybe you don't want to do that, Jimmy.
I'm so mad. I know what I was like when I was a kid. I just get slapped and dragged outside, but very different time we live in now. But in any case, like there's all these Republicans kind of talking through their teeth at them.
Right.
What the fuck are you doing? Calm down. And what I think they're doing is they're saying, you can't fucking make me be quiet too. I think in some ways they're saying the votes are going to decide.
Yeah,
the votes and the voters and the population, if they're excited by me, if they're emboldened by me and they come to the polls because of me, you can fucking wow all you want. I get to say whatever the fuck I want.
Yep.
This is my house. Yeah. This is my house. Yeah. This ain't your house. Yeah, sure, all you guys got together and said, that's McCarthy guy is the guy I got to listen to, but I don't have to fucking listen to him. I only have to listen to the voters, and everybody wants me to come stump for them because they know I'm going to get the voters out for them. And if they can prove that, and they can get all these people that are on board with that, they basically could do whatever the fuck they want. And they've been doing it pretty much ever since they've joined Congress.
Yeah, man, it reminds me of a funny, like, personal anecdote. Like, I remember, it's the same thing as when you're good in sales. Like, I just remember this. Like, when I was in college, I had a job, and I was a salesperson at Circuit City, now defunct, and I sold, like, audio and home theater junk.
Right.
And I was good at my job, so I produced a lot of money for the company. And that meant I could do whatever the fuck I want, which I did all the time.
Came in late. Skip days.
I would just not come in or show up like 8 hours late for a 12-hour. I went to the movies sometimes in the middle of the day because there was nothing going on. And they'd like shake their finger at you.
They'd be mad. They'd be like, Tom, you can't do that.
Hey, you can't just go to the movies in the middle of your workday. And I'd be like, I bet I can.
I think I can because I just did.
What are you actually going to do?
Am I fired?
Right.
Am I fired now?
No.
Do I go over to another place to sell?
Okay.
No? Okay, then.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's
same
like
thing.
Fucking
They're selling themselves.
Closers get coffee.
Yep. Fucking A, man.
That's it.
Fucking A. And what I hope is that there is something, because my real thought is that Trump was the catalyst for all this.
Right.
That's my real thought. That these people, yeah, they get people to follow them on Twitter, and yeah, they get to make a big stink, but I don't know what they're going to do until the midterms. We'll see what their pull is in the midterms.
Do you think the MTGs and the Cuckthorns, do you think they exist functionally without Trump? Like if Trump were to like have a fucking heart attack tomorrow, which
they would try to take his place.
Do you think
they
like
would climb all over each other to try to take each place?
But do you think from like a base movement? So right now, what I feel like is they are part of this MAGA thing. They're part of this Trumpism.
Sure. Yeah.
But I still have a strong feeling that Trumpism requires Trump. That there isn't.
Yeah.
Like these toadies.
I don't know the answer to what you're asking.
I wonder about it.
I don't know the answer to what you're asking because I don't know what it looks like without him.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that is pretty sure they would climb all over each other's bodies to be the one on top. But then there's another part of me that wonders if that even matters.
Yeah. I wonder.
And I don't know the answer to that second question. Right. The one that I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they would fucking stab each other in the back to make each other look good.
100%.
In a second.
100%. This story comes from Democracy Now! And I just think it's an important story. So, Ketanji Brown Jackson, I was standing up for the Constitution by representing Guantanamo prisoners. And this is a longer article from Democracy Now!, but I think for me, the part I want to talk about is the right is trying to portray her defense of Guantanamo Bay prisoners as somehow unpatriotic.
Yeah.
When the reality is that the least patriotic thing we have done in my lifetime was to invade a sovereign nation.
Great point.
Kidnap the people who live there.
Great point.
Not allow them any due process at all.
Can't
discover that the majority, not some, but the majority of those people had literally nothing to do with extremism
because of the system in which we found them, which was very often just like he did something and then you would just take him and put him away for years.
Yeah, we created a bounty system that was not dissimilar to calling someone a witch in order to gain access to their property.
Yep.
I mean, it was very similar.
Very similar, yeah.
So hundreds of people, not a couple, but hundreds of people have been credibly found to have no link whatsoever. None of them were given any due process. All of them were detained, removed from their families, beaten, tortured. And she simply wanted these people to have a due process right.
Yeah.
Hey, man, maybe we should make sure we have the right guy. Mm-hmm. That's it. The least patriotic thing we have done in my lifetime is to steal other human beings from their homes and from their families and to subject them to extreme torture, pain, and penalty of death, and to do all of that in bullshit secret?
Sure.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And it's not like that was like 6 months.
Right.
That was years of time we did this. We did this for a decade.
Some of these people are still there.
Yeah. So her answer to this question is basically she says, look, I just argued these rights because I was hired to do this work.
Right.
So I looked at the person's case. They asked me to argue a point and I argued it. So what? That's what lawyers do.
I know. It's like they all purposely are misunderstanding what legal advocacy is.
Yeah.
Legal advocacy is not, I think this is a good person, and I am in moral agreement with their actions and think they're innocent, right? That's nothing to do. This is, we have an adversarial system that relies upon advocacy.
Yeah.
And we have to have people to do that work or the system itself doesn't function.
And they would never be bringing this up if she were to, like, let's say she were someone who was a high-powered defense attorney.
Right.
And she just tried like regular cases. Let's say she tried, I'm trying to think of something that is less.
Dude, if she defended fucking white guys in white-collar crimes.
White-collar crimes, a perfect example, right? They would never bring it up.
No.
But what they want to bring, the reason why they want to bring up Guantanamo Bay, and they also brought up child pornography, is because they want to paint her as somebody who's sympathetic to child pornography, because that is a QAnon fucking talking point, and they know it's going to get people talking, so they're doing that, and then they're also trying to paint her as someone who is un-American. And again, the reason why they're asking these questions, we said it earlier in the show, is so that they can go back to the people in their district and say, with clear conscience, I voted against the first black woman in the Supreme Court because I think she's anti-American, or I think she's somebody who is soft on child porn, or I think she's somebody who, in Ted Cruz's case, who's a critical race theory advocate.
Oh my, Ted Cruz is a whole nother fucking ball of jellyfish.
Right.
That fucking asshole. Yeah, the attacks that she is being subjected to are so dishonest.
Yeah.
And they're so disingenuous and they're so nonsensical her job, she was a fucking defense attorney.
Sure.
That's literally what that job, should we not have that job?
Yeah.
You know who was always saying, how many of these fucking free speech rights people are always talking about how we shouldn't cancel people without proof, I shouldn't cancel people without their day in court. We shouldn't cancel people.
Yeah.
They are always talking about how everybody has a right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and the thing is, we do. In the courts, we have a right, not in the court of public opinion, which is where cancellation happens. It's a bullshit, actually non-analogous argument, but still.
And it doesn't happen really a lot at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But these guys are always, and they're always doing it when they're defending white men. Right? When it's a white man who is subject to some kind of attack, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what about due process? When this woman literally is on the side of due process as a principle.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like, well, hang on a minute. Not for these accused people. No, that's not how the system works.
Yeah.
You can advocate heartily for people because that's the right thing to do to preserve a system of justice.
Sure.
Even if the individual that you are advocating for, even if in your fucking heart and brain, you're like, that's a monster.
Yeah.
But the point is the system of justice needs this in order to function.
And what's crazy is that many of them aren't. They're not monsters.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Especially the Gitmo thing.
Yeah.
The Gitmo thing is most aren't.
They're just not monsters.
Right.
I wonder if she could have got out of this if she would have just said she was working out with Squee. If she was just working out with Squee at the time.
She should have kept a better diary.
Drinking beer.
All right.
With Jonesy and Squee or whatever. I forget the other guy's name.
Squee and Tiggs or something? I don't know. Tiggs. I don't know. I guess like a character.
They get into a tickle fight. They just get into like a crazy tickle fight in the dorm. Adorable times back then. God. Yeah. No, but and you think back to that particular. Look at how he reacted.
Oh,
when he was asked questions, and not just questions about the doctor who came in and accused him of horrible sexual assault. Right. Not just that. He was asked about other things.
Yep.
And he could not keep his cool.
No.
Brett Kavanaugh could not keep his cool.
No. He lost his shit. He completely lost his shit.
Yep.
Ketanji Brown Jackson is absolutely not losing her shit.
She's
calm. Going to get confirmed.
She is calm.
Yep.
She just smiles. She gives her and she's giving the same answer so many times in a row. She was asked today what a woman was.
Are you serious?
So somebody called this lady. I don't know this representative. She's a lady she looks like a version of Boris Johnson. You know how Boris Johnson's hair? She looks like that, like except for
Boris?
longer. She just like brah, and her hair's like crazy. Somebody called her a bag of hair on Twitter, and I loved it. But anyway, she's like asking the question. She says, "Can you tell me what a definition of a woman is?" And Ketanji said, "I'm not a biologist. I don't know what you're asking me." And she says, well, it's a hot button topic right now. And she says, well, if there were people in front of me that were arguing a point, I would then look at the current law and I'd look at precedent and I would make a decision based on the arguments that are presented. But you're not arguing anything. You're just saying, you're asking me to try to make a definition. I'm not a biologist.
Right. Well,
I can't make that decision.
Yeah.
And she's like, are you saying you can't tell me what a woman is? Because what she wants is she wants to go back to her fucking constituents and be like, she's a fucking crazy radical trans person ally and we hate them. Yep. So let's fucking band together. And that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. It is a bullshit laying of rhetorical traps.
Yeah.
That have no relevance to the law, right? So this is a job interview. And the interview is like, is this person qualified? Would they make, the president gets to pick and the Senate's supposed to be like, all right, let's make sure they're qualified. Yeah. That's how the system's supposed to work. Not like, let's lay out these rhetorical traps so that I can get my gotcha moment that I bring back to my constituents.
So I can go on Tucker later.
Oh,
yeah.
God,
and just have a moment on Tucker.
Right.
Because that's what they're looking for.
Yep.
one more Ketanji story.
One
Tom.
more. All right, this story comes from The Independent. AOC exposes perfect edges on book Cruz brandished at Ketanji Brown Jackson hearing, proving he hasn't read it. So this is an embarrassingly...
I'm going to show the picture.
Embarrassing display.
Now, I'm going to show the picture. You guys who are listening to this, you can go to our website and you can look at the picture on the notes, in the show notes. You have to scroll down and you have to click on Twitter, and it's AOC's tweet. But if you look at this, it doesn't even look like this book has ever been opened.
No, he bought this as a showpiece.
I've blown this up on the screen. Yep. It literally does not even look like this book has been opened.
And here's AOC's tweet. When you're showing off the next book you want banned with the perfect edges and everything to underscore to everyone you haven't actually read it.
So amazing.
It's so great. AOC is dynamite.
It's so amazing. But again, this is one of those, this is end of policing, although we should put this on our to read list.
We should. But I actually want to bring this up because this is part of a line of questioning where Cruz was doing these gotcha books, right? And he's doing these gotcha books. He says, you know, at the school, the Washington Day School or whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called. At the day school that you're on the board of, you know, do they teach CRT? And she's like, I don't actually know, because we're not part of the curriculum. And he's like, well, I think they do. And he brings out these books called, you know, CRT, A Beginner's Guide, or whatever it is.
Babies are racist, or
right,
whatever. Yeah.
Are all babies racist? Or babies and
babies are the worst,
or
something like that.
Which is
That's
just
a book I'd read.
book called And Other True Facts.
I'd read a book called The Babies Are the Worst. I would read that book. I'm going to write that book. Babies Are the Worst.
So he brings out these books, though, that all have something to do. It's very telling. They all have something to do with race. And then he hauls out The End of Policing. And I thought, you know, doesn't that tell you everything you need to know about the fact that fucking policing is racist? That when you, a fucking white guy who wants to call out, like who thinks you're having this fucking gotcha moment about how they're teaching race, is like, and what about this book about policing? It's like, why would you assume policing is fucking racist?
And also,
unless it is.
And also, very much, she comes from a family that is law enforcement.
Right.
She has a law enforcement family. People in her family, multiple people, not just one, like multiple people were in law enforcement.
Right.
So she has a tie to law enforcement more than someone else might.
Right.
So to bring something like this up just means you didn't do any homework.
Didn't do any. No.
You didn't understand the question. You didn't. You just want another gotcha.
He wanted his gotcha so much, he had this great big, like, blown up image from the, like, anti-racist baby thing. Yeah. Like behind him,
babies
so you could get
racist.
Babies are so
babies
fucking
are so
racist.
They are
so
racist.
racist.
So racist.
Outrageous.
So racist.
Fucking racist babies.
So racist. They will crawl to a dog before they'll crawl to a human. They're racists. Racists. Anyway.
So the whole thing is just, it's literally there to get a picture because he poses behind a great big
of course
fucking
he
photo.
wants the moment.
Yeah.
He wants the Getty image.
And all the, it's exactly what he wants. And all these fucking guys, they all assume that if you are involved in any way with a school, that you have somehow personally vetted the entire curriculum and every material, all the material in the goddamn library.
It's the same. They think this about the world, though. Think about how they think about voting machines. Right?
Yeah.
If you own the voting machine company, you can control all the votes that the voting machine has.
Yeah.
If you are part of a school board, you're automatically part of that. Like, you control every aspect. You're the one who controls everything, not just the curriculum, but how they fucking bus them, how they feed them, how they frisk them before they come in, whatever.
Yeah, it's the same with the librarians, man. It's like, oh, the librarians are going to be held accountable for the content of the library. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Because I think, like, maybe the librarians just showed up to work and there were already books
and there's
there.
books there.
Like, I don't think the librarians show up with, like, satchels of books and fill the shelves every morning.
They have to go through the books every day to make sure there isn't a banned one.
Yeah. I got to count them first. I got to count. What? What?
I'm not searching for bad clams. Right. What the fuck, man?
I've read them all. Just a couple of stories. This one's from Marketplace. Federal funding for COVID testing and treatment for the uninsured has run out. And I grabbed this story even though, like, fuck.
And this one too. This one's very related.
Yep. As GOP blocks funds, federal agency ends COVID coverage for uninsured.
Yeah.
And underneath it, the physician says the rationing of COVID care by ability to pay begins. And for like a hot minute, Cecil, with one fucking disease only, we almost accidentally did the right thing.
Right.
for like 2 years.
Sure.
And there's a part of me that thought maybe this will be the thing that spurs some change. Maybe we'll see. And I've got a dark theory here that might hopefully not pan out.
I love those. That's great.
But I thought maybe we'll see this be the change that people realize that a system that requires and segregates health outcomes by income and by employment is a terrible and unjust and fucking cruel system that is destined only to exacerbate and magnify the amount of pain that the citizens of this country pay to receive.
Sure.
And that's what I thought,
Yeah.
right? And here we are, and there's a sense from many that the pandemic for those in the United States is winding down. Now, there's really no good reason to think that. There's another extraordinarily contagious variant, the BA2 variant, which is here in the States. It's surging in Europe and Asia. It may surge here. There's a lot of experts that are concerned about it. So before we even get to the finish line, while we're still losing 1,000 people a day, when we still have 30,000 new infections a day, we're cutting off coverage. We're cutting off coverage. And there's a part of me that thinks, wait till we turn off the fucking spigot and then wait for the next surge and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen, but maybe that's what has to happen.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that doesn't scare me as much about COVID is the advances that we've gone through, right? So not only do we have multiple vaccines, which are shown to be effective, boosting them, which is shown to be even more effective, and then we also have these drugs, these antiviral drugs that have come out that have been very effective at making sure that people don't get debilitating COVID. There's studies that are coming out more and more day after day that are showing that vaccines do prevent you better against long COVID than not being vaccinated. There's all these great things, but all the things lead to medical expertise, medical goods, and what happens, like I'm insured, right? So I'm insured. I get sick. Right. I'm going to go to the hospital. I'm going to pay a fee, but there's going to be some a coverage from my insurance. I know that runs out at a certain point. I know I have a limit. I'm sure I have a limit. Like, so if I get on an intubation or whatever, and then they stick me in a room and I'm there for 30 days or something, and I just happen to survive, or even if I don't, I guess my wife would be on the hook for that money. Somebody's got to pay that bill if they stop paying it, right? If the government's just like, yeah, well, we're not paying that shit anymore. That's up to you now. Somebody's got to pay that bill, right? So that's the thing that worries me, is that the things that I was optimistic about are now suddenly a thing that's rationed to you through money.
Yeah.
And that's a scary place to be, in a place because we're the only country that's talking about this stuff, because we're the outlier. We're the one without universal health care. So we're the ones who can say, well, yeah, we can the government can just turn the spigot off and nobody can get care afterwards.
Yeah. And if you're a Western European or an Australian or a Canadian, and you're listening to this, you've got to be I can't imagine how baffling this must seem.
It's got to be crazy.
Because the idea that you could get sick and go bankrupt from being sick is a foreign concept.
Sure.
But the idea that you could get sick from COVID in the middle of a pandemic, which is, and we're just, why the fuck are we doing this? And it is part of this national winding down that we have decided that we're doing.
Sure.
And I think that the appetite, Americans are fucking garbage in many ways, because as soon as we do something we didn't like doing it, we're willing to do everything we don't like exactly one time. Mm-hmm. And if the circumstances warrant us continuing to do it or to do it again, we simply won't do it. So, it seemed pretty clear that once masks come off, masks aren't going back on for a lot of people. I don't think there's any political will to put masks back on en masse. I think maybe some counties might do it here or there if things get bad, etc. But by and large, America's just going to throw up their hands and be done. And I think financially, we are throwing up our hands and saying we're done. But the problem is, to your point, someone still has to pay that bill.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is two things. People aren't going to pay those bills. They're going to run out of money. Some people are going to run out of money. They're not going to pay them, or they'll pay parts of them, but they won't pay all of them. And then hospitals will get stuck holding the bag. Well, hospitals, many of them barely scrape by. They don't make a lot of money. Some hospitals do, but many don't. Many hospitals don't make actually a lot of money. So hospitals may shut down. Hospitals may be forced to fire, lay off.
Yeah.
You have poorer care for people. Also, like medical bankruptcies will become more and more of a problem. It's the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical bills.
Yeah.
So there are rippling effects, economic and social and personal effects of doing this kind of shit. And I'm just so terribly unsurprised that we're doing it.
Well, and I do feel optimistic when I think about all the things, all the places that we've gone. Right? How far we've come since the beginning. Because the beginning was very bleak.
Yeah.
I look back a couple years ago and I remember looking out my window thinking, fuck, I got to go grocery shopping. I remember like how kind of weirded out I was for just having to go grocery shopping. And then before masks were really a thing, I was wearing like a bandana on my face.
Yeah.
And like, then I watched a video of the Surgeon General showing you how to make like a quick mask because there were no masks to buy. I mean, I think everyone should remember how we felt at the beginning of this, right? I felt a lot of anxiety about those things. There's a lot of change now. There's a lot of things that are different now. Yeah. And so I don't wholly disagree with us lowering restrictions. I don't wholly disagree with it. What I do disagree with is pulling the rug out from underneath people if they're going to get sick, because you can still get sick if you are protected.
Right.
You can still get sick. And to pull the rug out from underneath them. I also wonder, too, what are insurance companies going to do? Are insurance companies going to deny your coverage because now insurance companies are going to be on the bag for a lot of this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they going to deny my coverage if I didn't get a vaccine? Are they going to deny my coverage because of that? Because if they do, then you're going to start to see some real changes.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a big deal. And I wonder too if those insurance companies will start to push, because right now the push is from all the businesses that are losing money, right? So all those businesses that are losing money are putting pressure on anybody they can in the government to say, please relax these restrictions so that my business can come back or whatever, right? So anybody who has any pull whatsoever in business is trying to do that.
Yeah.
Because they want to try to get as much money as they can, and they can't, right? Because we run on blood. We fucking always run on blood. We're going to continue to run on blood, right? But what's going to happen when there's a push-pull between the people who really want to make that money, and now there's a bunch of fucking insurance companies losing a lot of money? What happens when those big companies, who seemingly always get their way, what's going to happen when they push on the government to say, wait, we got to do some more lockdowns. We got to do some more masking. We got to do some more social distancing. We got to do this because you're going to start seeing like these surges they slow down, but they're not nothing in the middle of even with vaccinated people, they're not nothing.
No.
So what's going to happen? It's a very interesting proposition. And I want, because the government is really just controlled by the special interest.
Oh, 100%.
So I wonder which special interest wins the tug of war.
Yeah. That's a great point, and I don't know which one is going to win, but I feel
we're going to lose. No matter what, we're going to lose.
We get fucked.
No matter what, we lose that.
Yeah. The everyday person just gets totally fucking boned.
And we are not making decisions. No one should think we're making decisions 100% medically, scientifically based.
No,
we should not. We should not be fooling ourselves that those are those decisions. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think we shouldn't be making some of these decisions, because, in some ways,
I think that there is like a real push-pull calculus you have to do, right? Like trying to be COVID zero, like China, has devastating social and economic and personal impact. And I don't think that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a reasonable goal. I don't think a reasonable goal is to accept 1,000 dead people a day.
I don't think so either.
And I think there's some smaller number we need to get down to, but we got to keep funding until we get down to that number.
Yeah.
We keep doing this thing though, where it's like, well, we're heading in the right direction, but we're not there. We're not at the goal. If the goal is like some livable amount, I can't imagine it's this amount.
Yeah, no.
But it's like, well, we're in the right direction. It's like, yeah, but if you stop all the things that make us go in that direction, we go slower or we don't go at all. And we're going to bankrupt people.
Yeah.
And when we bankrupt people, if I'm a business and I sell something to you and you can't pay me and I go bankrupt, you never got paid either.
Yeah.
Two people lose in the equation.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like bankruptcy is bad for everybody.
Yeah. So that is going to wrap it up this week for our video segment. We want you, if you're here watching this video, I implore you to hit the subscribe button. Yeah. Like, you came here all the way.
Mash it.
Hit the subscribe button.
Aren't you supposed to mash it?
Yeah, you can.
You can hit it as hard or as softly as you want.
I want you to either tickle it or mash it or whatever it does. Whatever you need to do to make sure that it's done.
If you're a counterclockwise kind of person, go counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise. If you're you mix it up in the middle, that's not very great, but some people like that. Just do what you got to do. Hit the bell. Now the bell's hard to find. It's at the crest. It's at the top of it's at the crest of the subscribe button.
Yeah, front and center is hard to find.
Yeah, it's very hard to find. But if you find that bell, hit that bell. That gives you a notification when we post videos. We're going to try to post these whenever we can. I know next week we are probably not going to post one of these because we're going to have a guest on the show that is not a video guest.
Yeah.
So we're probably not going to post one next week, but we're going to keep trying to post these because they're fun enough to do and they're easy enough to do. So we hope you like them. Write in the comments below. Make sure you comment, say something to us. If you're here and you hate laughing, go away. You don't need to be here. We don't need to hear your comment. There's a million things you can watch on YouTube. Go watch them. Go enjoy the really stodgy conversation about atheists telling believers that they're wrong. Go watch that dude. That's not us, and you shouldn't be here. Go somewhere else and do that. But you don't need to tell us that you're leaving. We don't care that you were here.
We didn't notice.
We never knew.
We don't get like a notification for every view.
We didn't care, and we still don't. All right. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. We're going to leave you like we always do with the Skeptic's Creed.
Credulity is not a virtue. It's fortune cookie cutter, mommy issue, hypno-Babylon bullshit. Couched in scientician, double bubble, toil and trouble, pseudo quasi alternative, acupunctuating, pressurized, stereogram, pyramidal, free energy healing, watered downward spiral, brain deadpan sales pitch, late night info docutainment. Leo, Pisces, cancer cures, detox, reflex, foot massage, death and towers, tarot cards, psychic healing, crystal balls, Bigfoot, Yeti, aliens, churches, mosques and synagogues, temples, dragons, giant worms, Atlantis, dolphins, truthers, birthers, witches, wizards, vaccine nuts, shaman healers, evangelists, conspiracy, doublespeak, stigmata, nonsense. Expose your sides. Thrust your hands, bloody, evidential, conclusive. Doubt even this.
The opinions and information provided on this podcast are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of GLORYHOLE Studios, LLC. Cognitive Dissonance makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, currentness, suitability, or validity of any information and will not be liable for any errors, damages, or butthurt arising from consumption. All information is provided on an as-is basis. No refunds. Produced in association with the local Dairy Council and viewers like you.